E360 TV proudly presents messages of inspirational stories. Live streaming now to millions of devices, including Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, with your host, Donna Guinwa, producer and host, Jim Grant, producer and host, along with Michaela Vidal, administrator and host, and Gaia Guinwa Balconi Wada, editor-in-chief. Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. The Messages of Inspirational Stories is proudly brought to you by the good guys at the 6minutewebinar.com. The 6-Minute Webinar is an amazing tool. It has an introduction, a body, a close, and a call to action to your ideal client, all within 6 minutes. And if you'd like to know how you can get a free complimentary 6-minute webinar, all you have to do is just email us here at the TV station, inspiration@e360tv.com. And all you got to just say is 6-minute webinar or 6 minutes, whatever you remember there. And our staff will make sure it gets to the proper person, because we're going to conduct a class to do this at one time. And if you want to participate in the 6-minute webinar, at least find out what it's all about without a penny out of your pocket, there's the email address. We're also brought to you today by Mr. Bill Heinrich's book, The 7 Levels of Truth. I've known Bill for many, many years. Bill walked away from his life, and it took him about 30 years to create this book. Bill said, I was miserable. My wife had passed away. He says, I walked away from my life. The only thing I took with me was my name. But I wanted to find myself. And there's a lot of people like that. They're struggling to find happiness in the world. And I'm just going to read just the top portion here of the back cover here, because this says it best. I want to share this with you, if I may. This book is for anyone seeking answers, solutions, and success in life. Our birthright is abundance, to have love, peace, and joy. The 7 levels of truth will allow you to achieve all of these results in your life. Ladies and gentlemen, I highly recommend this book, and you can find it on Amazon. I think we may have it here on a marquee. I don't know. I'm here in the studio by myself today, so please bear with me a little bit. And let me do this here. Let me find up, let's see here. Here we go. The 7 Levels of Truth by Bill Heinrich is on Amazon. And if you would like a complimentary 30-minute consultation just to share some things, whatever's on your heart or your mind with Mr. Bill Heinrich, all you have to do is go to the website True Life Purpose Now. 4 words, truelifepurposenow.com. And Bill would be more than happy to schedule a 30-minute complimentary session with you. And I promise you, you're going to be impressed, and you will not feel like you wasted your time. And there's no sales pitches on anything that we've offered so far. This is not some back door to try to get in your pocket. We don't play that game. And ladies and gentlemen, today I am joined by a good friend of mine. We've known each other for a few years. We got started on a project he had, Dr. Mark Green, and we have something very, very, unusual and in common, you might say. Both of us have official documents from the federal government that says we are officially retarded from the United States Army. And let's welcome Dr. Mark Green to the stage. Hey, brother, how you doing?
Good, Jim. How are you?
Doing fine. It's such a pleasure to have you here with us on the show today. We're going to be talking about expanding your business. And before the show, ladies and gentlemen, we were talking quite a bit about how doors open for you when you're doing the right thing and the energy comes to you. That's the secret to success. We're going to get into that and a lot more. But first of all, I'm going to ask Mark to share a little bit about who he is and, what he did in the military. And some of the things he can't tell you, because otherwise we'll have to come out later on. Well, welcome to the show, Mark.
Thanks, Jim. Well, I guess if I was to try to define who I am, I was a kid that grew up in Missouri, not with a lot, as a family, we didn't have a lot, but when I didn't graduate from high school, I had to step away from what was happening in that environment and kind of go do something. So I joined the Army at 21, and I never looked back. I spent from 21 until age 54.
34 years
without a break, and I retired. I went from buck private to lieutenant colonel, and I was an engineer officer, ordnance officer, and then I had some enlisted rank MOSs, military occupational specialties, all the way up to E6. And I also was a team member on the first pioneer team of the Army Taekwondo team ever created.
Wow.
And was a world-class athlete while I was a paratrooper. So, and then when I actually got my education, while I was in the Army, I used the GI Bill. I was not that kid. I was a C student. I wasn't anybody, like way up there in the cum laude or anything. But I applied myself, and I went and got a master's degree and a law degree. And that's why you see the word doctor in front of my name. I have a doctorate in law, and not a doctor as a doctor. But I was that kid that didn't graduate from high school first. I was kind of on the wrong path, and then I just kind of I corrected myself. But that structure of the Army helped me do that. And then I went on and had some kids, and I just like everyone. I've had failed relationships. I've had trouble with money. I've had all the basic things, all the things that you think that happen to you, pretty much happen to everybody else in life. You get your lights turned off, or something when you're 19 or 20, and you don't know what to do. You can't pay your car insurance. Things are tough. Things can get tough, and I dealt with a lot of adversity, and I think that's probably why I am who I am today.
Yeah, hard times and that builds character.
So I did finish the law degree. I came back from service. I spent 5 years now working in the transition world, helping veterans and others across the United States. I have a lot of veteran friends that reach out to me and ask me questions about, well, what should I do about this? What should I do about that? Everything from finances to relationships to everything else. I'm not a relationship guru or anything like that. I don't have a bunch of titles behind my name. I'm just a guy that, a school of hard knocks, but also a school of education, and, the education and everything that, and I'm driven. I have a lot of drive behind me that gets things done, and that matters because without that, you can just kind of sit idle and nothing happens. So
oh yeah, absolutely. And ladies and gentlemen, everybody has a book in them. They really do, because even if your book only reaches one person and you touch one person's soul, that is time well spent in the printed word. And I'd just like to point out that Mark's email address is stepup7@gmail.com. You see it there on the marquee. But also, too, he's got two books. Both of them are on Amazon. One is called Step Out, Step Up, and then The Warrior's Code 001. So share with us a little bit, Mark, about the Step Out, Step Up book. What's that about?
Well, as I left the service, I knew I wanted to work in helping veterans. And so I thought, well, the best way is probably just tell my story first so they know who I am.
Yeah.
And then I worked with the Army Corporate Partners Program with a lady from HarperCollins, and she helped me write the book and then put it out to the public as a read to lead pick in 2017. And we ended up with like 217,000 views of the book over Thanksgiving holiday. And she told me, she said, Mark, she said, you have to understand that everybody has a story.
Yes.
She said, the only thing that's changed, that's different between your story and others is that, like a lot of people, you haven't quit. You don't give up. And, so she said that you're a warrior and a fighter and you're staying in the fight. So when she said those words, I was like, staying in the fight. So now I sign all those books, stay in the fight. Because that's what it takes in business. That's what it takes in life. That's what it takes in relationships. And you got to step out of some things to step up the better for others. So I figured the title worked and the backdrop of it all worked. So I wrote my whole story out. And believe me, writing your life story in a book and telling
Mhm.
all the dirty details of all the ugly that happened and all the good
Oh,
that
yeah.
happened, I relived my life in that book.
Mhm.
And
Sure.
it was kind of scary to publish it because I was like, well, shoot, I'm telling everybody everything about me.
Yeah,
But at the same time, I
exactly.
realized it was also healing. It was a
Yes.
healing event for me.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
maybe that's the same as Bill Henrik. It's a healing event for us to get things out,
Yeah.
like his
It
true
really
life purpose. It's like get your purpose out there and tell people who you are. If you don't have
Oh,
to do
yeah.
that, but I
Yeah.
get to do it because of the freedom that we expect we
Oh,
have.
yeah.
And
And ladies and gen
I had to get the book approved by the Pentagon because I was still in the writing process while I was an officer in the service, which I got the letter.
yeah.
And so they approved it, and
Mm.
I published it in 2017, and it's done real well. And I give it out to
Wow.
veterans across the country, sometimes for free. So
That's amazing. And the same is true with the Warriors Code. That's a book that share a little bit about it, if you would, sir.
yeah, what I did was when I came out of Afghanistan, I was hurt. I aggravated an existing injury that I had, and I had to learn how to walk again. And I thought,
Mm.
okay, so now I'm sitting at home. I already finished one book. Let me come up with how I kind of transitioned back to re-engagement in the community and for myself and my family and everything. And it came
Mhm.
up with like 7 R's. And there are, rest and reconnect and reset your mind and remove problems and negativity and resolve issues and
Mm.
recon your future with your goals and then re-engage. And so
Mm.
out of that, out of me healing from my physical sense, those came out of the thought patterns that I had, and then it just
Mm.
became a curriculum for transition.
Oh,
And
wow.
and then we built the book small so it fits in a cargo pocket for
Mhm.
soldiers.
Sure.
I measured the size of a cargo pocket your on your
BDU
uniform,
pant. Yeah,
and then
uniform.
we cut it down so it fits in there. And then we interviewed 100 veterans to get their feelings about
Mm.
if they had those, what would that do for them?
Mm.
And
Oh,
their
my
stories
goodness.
are in the book as well.
Yeah. And I love that one story. I haven't read the book yet, ladies and gentlemen, but I love that one story where you interviewed a very special person who was present in world. I'm going to just let you take it from there. You know what I'm going to say.
You said I interviewed
The,
a very
the,
special person.
person that was there that saw the raising of the flag on
Yes. So like just
there we go.
recently, we started the work on a documentary called Veterans Across the Heartland, and we did almost 40 hours of interviews with
Hmm.
26 to 30. I have the exact number, but we
Hmm.
we we interviewed veterans across the Heartland.
Hmm.
It was 14 days, 13, I don't, 3,900 miles we drove. And we just found veterans, and we went to each location, and then we set up our cameras, and we interviewed all of those veterans so they can tell their stories, because
Mm.
it isn't just our story that matters, it's everybody's story that was a veteran and what it meant to them,
Mm.
what it meant to their be a patriot, and what it meant for them to serve, and the
Amen.
challenges. And sometimes, like they don't have the same opinions about the VA or about
Mm-mm.
serving, even from some of the guys. And we interviewed a lot of veterans from the Vietnam
Yeah.
War area,
Yeah.
and it is amazing because they were ready to talk finally. And I found that very interesting because for a long time, a lot of Vietnam veterans weren't willing to open up and share
Yeah.
how they felt or whatever.
Hmm.
But this man that you're talking about, I met a man that was 99 years old. We interviewed him. He was at Iwo Jima and saw the flag being raised over Iwo Jima on the 5th day after he got there. He was a
Wow.
Seabee. And
Mm.
I got to interview him out on his old Texas ranch, sitting out
Mm.
there in this vast, acreage in Texas. And the man just gives me goosebumps because I realize he's so powerful, even at his age,
Mm.
with his words and his insight. And just, it was an incredible, incredible interview that I can't
Mm.
wait to put out to the community in the
Yeah.
documentary so people can hear it. Because you just don't get those kind of interviews
Yeah.
that often in life. And to have that World War II vet like that, be, to share what he did, and he's even put it in a book. People will be able to connect with that in times. It was an incredible journey.
And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to invite
books that I'm talking about that I've written for free to every veteran that shared with us.
Mm-hmm. And ladies and gentlemen, that's such a powerful documentary. It's going to be coming out. We've invited Mark to be with us, and we're going to do a special presentation. We'll put out on social media, and it'll be recorded on YouTube about, the documentary. We're going to just let them cover everything from the Alpha to the Omega. I've had the privilege and honor of having his son, Adam. And Adam was a cameraman with his dad and all that.
Yep.
And Adam is a tremendous young man. He's 21 years of age. He's a ball of fire, and he loves his dad. We could have talked about I could have sat back and drank some coffee and just let him talk about his dad for the whole show. But the beauty in what we're doing here, ladies and gentlemen, we've talked about Bill Heinrich, and Mark has shared with you his passion about his books. And obviously, many times we have the tendency to feel like we got to do something in a grandiose way. Mm-hmm. No, the average people want to connect with average people, because not being able to pay your power bill is not anything a lot of people like to talk about. That's certainly not grandiose, but it is something that someone can connect to. I didn't have the money to do this.
Yeah.
Because that's the way people connect to you, because people have to know you, like you, and trust you before they'll do any type of business with you. That is pertinent, very powerful. And that's why a book like this, and the books that he has there on Amazon, Step Out, Step Up, and of course, Warriors Code 001 is so valuable, because both of those books will reach a broad area, a multitude of people that can say, hey, I can relate to what this person is saying, because it's real life and they want to know the real you. Mm-hmm. And that when you do that, and Mark, I'm going to have you expand on this a little bit, but as you do that and you give and you look for ways to bless others, doors start opening for you that you never even saw. Am I correct on that? Opportunities coming?
Absolutely correct on that. I can tell you that, like as a person of that was, in the service and then transitioned out, and, I went and got trained as a success principles coach with Jack Canfield, because the author, the lady in HarperCollins, told me I needed to be certified. So I certified myself as a coach for others, as a mentor for others, because she said it's really important that you do that. I was hesitant. I was like, I don't want to pay all the money, and I don't want to do all this. And, I'm like everybody else, I'm skeptical about, what people share and what they say. But I was like, you know what, I'm going to do this. So I put 100% into it. And the first things he taught me was no blaming, no excuses, and that you have to be of service to others.
Yes.
So for the last 3 years, I've been doing disaster relief and, around the world. And I've been to Puerto Rico. I've been to the Bahamas for the hurricanes, and I've been of service. And then I got invited to India, and, it's funny because you never know where business is going to come from. Mm-hmm. Now, when I went to India the first time, and I think the first time we ever interviewed a few years ago, Jim, was I was in a hotel room in India, I remember. Mm-hmm. And I was there for a speech for the churches, just to share that, let's be fair with each other in religion and civility. And I became a civility ambassador for India while I was there. Well, the gentleman that invited me was we weren't doing business together. We were just serving. And I had given him a small donation like 3 years ago for some kids' school backpacks and pens and pencils and stuff, because he had asked me. Mm-hmm. Well, just recently he contacted me and he said, Mark, I would like you to take a look at this business I'm getting into, because you've given to me and I've never really asked much, back and forth. But for 3 years, we fostered a relationship where now I'm just about, I'm like 90%, 95% done with inking a deal for a large synthetic oil business, because the oil business is not going away in India anytime soon, but yet we're going to
Mm,
still work towards solar and others in the future. But like, we're about to ink this deal, and this is a huge business. This isn't just
mhm,
a small thing, because he's tied to the ministry and others to
mhm,
to help support us while we're
mhm.
building this thing. And it is a company that's been out there, and they're in 40 countries with this oil, so it's not like, it's not new.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited because
Mm,
that opportunity and that door opened because I was
mhm.
serving, because I
Yes.
was I paid my own ticket to fly to India to meet these people.
Mhm,
And I never had any like expectation or any, anything at all at the beginning. It was just going to serve and going to
mhm.
speak. And I did
Yeah.
that, and that door opened. But it took 3 years. So you have to foster relationships with people. Like you said, know, like,
Yeah.
and trust. These
Mhm.
aren't things that just
Absolutely.
happen overnight. If it's too quick and it's too glitzy and it looks too good to be true, I say get
It
up and
is.
leave the room.
Yeah.
But this was different, and I was like, I've waited a long time, and I've had businesses that have failed. I've had some success with some things in business. I've had my own business for 5 years, and it's a registered trademark company for helping
Mhm,
veterans. But sometimes things come at you. You don't know. Sometimes business comes from places you have no idea it's going to come from,
mhm.
and
Yeah.
you either seize the opportunity and dig in and find out
Mm.
if it's a good thing or not. But
Yeah.
that has happened, and it's all
Mhm.
because of serving.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that I've learned in life, and Bill Heinrich covers this quite a bit in his book, is don't make decisions. Because I was talking to him one day years ago, and I say, "Hey, Bill, I made a decision today," and I like share, Jim, stop making decisions. He says decisions are not good for you. I thought, he must know me pretty good then. No, but the reason why, when you say you're going to make a decision, I know people like to make goals and things like that, and I understand that and I appreciate it. But really, what you're doing in your subconscious mind, you're building a mental box,
Mhm.
and everything has got to fit inside that box because this is the decision we've made. Bill
Yeah.
then says make options. Put the energy into the options. Okay, we're going to pursue this avenue here. We're going to try and help these people. And if it's the right thing to do, the energy will come and help you pave the way in that direction. If the energy's not there, that's its way of saying you're going in the wrong direction because we were created for a specific reason. And therefore, if you keep your options open, you don't get frustrated because how many times have you worked on a project, and you've had that attitude, I'm going to make this thing
Mhm.
happen. You feel like
Mhm.
you're pushing a chain uphill. You are enslaving yourself.
Yep.
And that's one of the things that Mark was saying. He went over there on his own expense and I'm going to give. And these people saw his heart. That's what people want to do. They want to connect to you to heart wise.
Yeah.
There's some people like to connect with you to get in your pocket. You need them like a dog needs a case of the fleas,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But because their heart's not right, their heart's not in it. They're in it for the wrong reason. Therefore, let the real you show up. Have enough pride and respect for yourself. I'm not talking about pride. I'm not talking about the negative pride. I'm talking about the pride of doing a good job, being a good servant, having a good being able to sleep good at night is a good way to put it. Having a satisfied mind.
Mhm.
That's something that money cannot buy. And ladies and gentlemen, no thief can ever reach in and steal it from you. That's how
Mhm.
valuable that is. And Mark, I want to talk just a little bit about your son. He talked about you on that show we had him on, and I'd like to talk a little bit about Adam. I was really, really, really impressed at how fast Adam responds to help people in their hour of need without expecting one thin dime in return. That's impressive. That's a chip off the old block, I'd say.
Well, it's caused it's caused a little bit of angst for him lately, because a lot of people will come to him to have him do post edits and things on because he's good, because he went to Full Sail University. So like they're calling him for, post edits on videos and everything. And the problem is like he takes on a lot of work for pro bono for free. And he's kind of it helps he's overreached his time limits, and he has to stay up late at night doing all that. And it's not really, so I told him, I said, it's time you probably should start, go ahead and taking a few dollars to pay the bills and pay your rent.
Yeah.
Because, he's 21 years old, and he's got to pay his rent. But he's a kid that like, he has a lot of energy, and he's very creative. Because of that, he finds his own opportunities. I mean, he was already on a Netflix shoot with with the A-list actor that was part of the movies. I think there's a disclosure thing. I can't give out the name of the movie yet, but he's already been out there doing his craft. But Full Sail University is one of those universities that are not inexpensive. Now, if I wouldn't have had the Army behind me to pay for some of my college, I wouldn't have my degrees.
Yes.
But I also told myself, for what I can do for my kids, is that I'm not going to try to hold them back if I can help it, when I can help. And at different times in your life, sometimes you can't and sometimes you can.
Right.
And so he is that kid that, like, wow. He just takes something, whatever it is, and he's like always improving. And so I think the goal eventually for us will be that I help him build a studio in Orlando where he can record videos, he can record curriculum for people, he can do post-production work, and also field teams, because he has so many contacts in his networking that do that kind of work. And it takes a good sound person. It takes a good cameraman. It takes good lighting. It takes all of those things that those kids learned, and they are the future. So if we don't put time and sometimes money into their crafts, then they fizzle out, because they get defeated. And, with all of the way things are in life right now in the U.S. and everything else, some of these kids, they need that. They need that support, and they need that love, and they need that constant believing in them, so they can step up to those next levels. And he's that kid that does it.
Oh yeah, he certainly does. And the thing that I love is that when you got ready to go out and interview all those veterans on that how many miles was it? 3,900 miles?
3,912 miles we went.
And 12 miles. Don't forget the 12 miles.
I checked my odometer.
And your son was hey, I'm on board with it. He just, he just jumped in there with his dad. Think about that. A father and a son going out, and dad says, hey, son, this is what I want to do. Hey, sign me up. I'm going with you. And that's how he got into becoming more, would interesting be the right word for cameraing and camera work and that sort of thing? Or did he already have that? Or?
Well, I think the thing is like, like when they go to Full Sail and they're film students, they dive into everything. They dive into movie history. They dive into camera work. They dive into lighting. They dive into the set work. They dive into everything. And, like he just took those skills. And then, like a lot of kids, like they'll wait for the opportunities. Adam's just the opposite. He just goes and finds them. And it's like, how do you do that? I mean, he's just got that way about him, and he's got that charisma behind him. So people love him.
Yeah.
All the way back when he was a kid, it was like that. All the little girls would come over to the house and, where's Adam? Where's Adam? So he's just been that kid. And so I'm just like him. He praises me while I praise him, because I think that's a good relationship that, father and son.
It certainly is. It certainly
is. Like all of my kids, like we've had our bad times and good, you can't, it's not like my world is perfect. My business world is perfect. My relationships have always been perfect. I've had so many challenges and so many things happen over the years. But again, I go back to that's what has created me to be who I am. And sometimes I have to stand my ground with my kids, or tell them, hey, that's probably not the way you should do things. And they get their own choice at the end of the day. They're all grown adults and mature, but
Oh yeah.
I am grateful
Mm-hmm.
is the word
Mm-hmm.
for all of my kids. I'm grateful for my opportunities. I'm grateful for anything that
Mm-hmm.
I've done in business or my networking that's made me get to where I am.
Yeah.
And again, it does go back to service, because a lot of the doors that have opened for me to be a board member of a multi-million-dollar nonprofit, and those other things, they didn't come because I wasn't giving of myself first.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, going back to that for just a second,
Mm.
being of service
Oh,
to
yeah.
people, even the man in India, when I went over there, they took me to the shanty camp where people were just barely surviving with rice and oil for the month.
Mm.
And I supported that over the years as well, to make sure that people are eating, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, and I think that was why I knew I could trust this man in the business side of it, because, when he showed me his world and he opened me up to what he does for them, I realized this is somebody that I would like to do business with. And
Yes.
that's probably
Yes.
how we got to where we are, because we're getting ready to launch this business on the 10th of December. It's only a week out. We're waiting for the fire marshal to give us approval in the warehouse. All the branding is done. Everything is inked almost. And we're just waiting for those final few steps to drop.
Wow.
And that's all because of serving others, of giving,
Mm.
not taking, but giving first.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think that you can just go out there and take, because that is the wrong way to do business.
Mm-mm.
And yes, you have to
Absolutely.
get something in return. There's always a what's in it for me.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's a scam or if it's not legitimate, it always comes out eventually. It will expose itself every time.
It sure
And
will.
and I think the education and the law degree helped me too, because I can help draft contracts.
Mm-hmm.
I can look at something and say, we might want to add this or take this out. And
Yeah.
I'm kind of, and then I know what the words hold harmless mean now. It's like, don't put me in the shoebox of me being harmed for something else that somebody else is doing.
Yes.
And so,
Yes.
Business is a delicate thing. Even when you partner with somebody, they may have an advantage business wise and knowledge wise, and they could either take advantage or they can help lift you up. And it's a
Yeah.
choice. And that comes back to the know, like, and trust thing. You have to trust people. And sometimes if they mistrust or they do it wrong, it's okay to close the door. Nobody's saying you have to stay with that person, that business, or whatever. You can close that, you shut that down.
That is so true, because Bill talks a lot about service and serving. Everything that you do, like when you love someone, you're serving them and they are serving you. It's a win-win situation. It's a two-way street there. And Bill says it in a way, and I hope I don't slaughter this. He says, if something does not serve you, you need to let it go. Now, he does not mean that, and I didn't mean it in the negative thing, like, okay, you're going to serve me. No, it's not about one way, but serving you, what that means. And Mark, feel free to pitch in here and help me out in case I get in a ditch, throw me a tow rope. But what service means is that when something serves you, it gives you an opportunity to expand. Yes. It gives you an opportunity to bless others. Yes. And there's one thing I'd like to just remind people: when we get ready to do something, it's our human nature to think, hey, we want to do something in a grandiose way. And if we can't do it in a grandiose way, we're going to sit here and wait till we figure out how we can do it, because we want to do things in a big way. That is the wrong door to even try to open. What you need to do is start with one person. Yeah. Whether it's a counseling to them, talking to them, maybe it's going down and picking up an elderly neighbor and taking them to the grocery store, and so they can buy their groceries and take them back home. That is the type of things that will bless you in your life. That's when you start building up inventory in yourself that's worthy of repayment. Yeah. Did I word that pretty good for an old country boy?
Yeah, you did. I don't really know if I have a response because you already took care of it. but you know, like just recently like I met, I was helping a friend. He sold his bar in the northern states, and he wanted to buy a boat, and he wants to go to the Bahamas and hang out, and that's it's his retirement thing. And we went down to Port Canaveral, and I met this man that had a sailboat, and we were just talking to him because he was a sailor, and and he's like, well, I'm a veteran. And I was like, really? And we got to talking. He come off the boat, and we were just talking about boats. Well, then he said, well, I didn't get my disability. I was like, what do you mean? It's like, didn't you have some things happen? He said, yeah. And I said, do you have your records? He says, yeah. And he says, well, I'm part of the VA. And I said, well, then what's happening? So we started on a journey of finding out what had happened. He was at 0%, right? Like no disability, no nothing. And we got him in touch with the right people. He's been going to the appointments, and already he's got 10%, and he's working on a much higher percentage, only because I knew that once I met him and I saw something was wrong, I wasn't obligated to fix it, but he was a veteran, and I think he was struggling a little bit living on his boat. And I was like, something needs to be done here.
Yeah.
So we had lunch, and he came up to Orlando, and then we did some work together, and we got him in front of the right people. And now he's on his journey, and now he's got another lady that's helping him and provide all the records and everything from California. And so it's just really incredible how I don't have to do any of that. It's just like when you serve, and like, because I have multiple business interests. I have my company, and then I have this thing that the opportunities that are just arriving. And like, it's okay to have multiple streams of income. I have my book income, I have my speaking income if I choose to speak, but I also balance. So, and I can serve and I can give to others, and go to the disasters and stay for a while and then come home. And so you have to, it's like I juggle a lot, but at the same time, I still get a lot done. And it's kind of crazy, because you would think that with that many things going on at once, there's nothing would happen. But if you're like, I always say, you stay where you're at, go as far as you can when you're there, and then you'll see that much further. And it's the same thing with business. Like if you start an international business, there's a lot of things you're going to learn real quick that you didn't have to deal with before, like stamps from India, or, how they tax their business and how things work. And so you're going to always be a student of learning in business.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not going to you're not always going to just arrive. It's a journey, not a destination.
There you go. I like that. And that's so true, because when you think about expanding your business, the very first thing, as we said before, people got to know you, like you, and trust you. You got to expand your network. Let people know the type of person you are. If you got a giving heart and all that, that's going to attract the right type of people, the right type of energy that you will need in your life. Now, it will also attract people that's looking for a free lunch. But, that's their problem, not yours. They do not serve anybody. They're only innocent but their own bread. So that's when you let them go.
Yeah.
That's why I was talking about earlier a little bit. If they don't serve you, you let them go. You love them enough, let them go.
Yeah.
And that's so
the door closes. Yeah.
Yeah. And also on the marquee down there, I got The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. It's on YouTube. If you're in a country where YouTube is not available, just do a search engine on The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. You can get it in a PDF form. You can download it. And the PDF form is verbatim the same as the YouTube. And you're not going to miss a video, because all it's got is just his picture there. It's an MP3 that's been upgraded to an MP4 with the video, with the picture there. But my point in saying that, I met Mr. Nightingale back when I was about 17. I knew who he was, but I was too young and dumb to appreciate who he was. At 17, I tell people back when I was in high school, I was interested in nice cars and girls. I had a nice car, but, I had 50% of it anyway. Let's just say that, with a face like this, that's self-explanatory. But my point being is that Earl Nightingale in there makes a statement about whatever you asked of the universe, the abundance of love, the universe cannot say no. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that took a little while for me to get into my brain, because When I knock on my head, it sounds pretty good, especially when it's hollow. But my point being is that sometimes when you read truth and you know that it's truth, but you can't quite put it together, keep the faith and keep on keeping on. Because as you try to bless others and you try to grow on the inside, coming from love and compassion, think of it like a seed. Sooner or later, that seed's going to germinate and it's going to blossom on the inside. But in the meantime, it's going to prepare you. Whenever it does pop up, you're ready to go.
Yeah.
Because being prepared mentally is another thing. And sometimes that takes a little time. So don't get impatient with yourself. And when it comes to expanding your business, people got to know who you are. And when you do that, this is the icing on the cake that you won't see coming. People that know you, like you, trust you, and love you, they will be more than happy to refer you.
Yeah.
The best advertising on planet Earth that, doesn't cost you a dime. It's so precious. It's not even for sale, is it?
That's true. And this thing about the universe, it is real, Jim. I mean, growing up, I was a kid that, didn't have, it was scarcity, not abundance. Mm-hmm. And one day after 3 or 4 years of doing business, I was like, why am I always giving to, to others for their businesses and nothing's coming my way? And so I think a lot of business people experience that when you first get into
they do.
Business. It's because they're trying to grow, they're trying to learn, they're trying to, get a handle on how do I run my business, how do I grow, how do I market, how do I get to the next milestones? And I sat down one day and I meditated. And the exciting thing about that, what happened was I just let my mind really go free that day. And I actually met this little man in a tree, and this magic tree was, I named him William Green because that's my ancestor from across the pond before they got to the United States. And I called it William Green and the Money Tree because this little man invited me into his tree and he taught me, he said, you know what? He says, giving and receiving is okay, but you've always given and not received. So
you're out of balance.
Something was blocked, right?
Yeah.
So it unblocked me. And I can tell you right now, what's the strangest thing in the world is that after I was unblocked, guess what happened to my income? And I'll let you fill in the blanks. So what I've experienced is that your subconscious and your conscious mind doesn't know the difference between the two when you tell it to do something. So it goes to work on what it is that you want.
Oh, and
that has happened for me more than not since I made that day of meditation. And I wrote that into a book of what happened. And I can't wait to publish that book because it's going to go in international languages. It's my first entrepreneur book. And I'm almost done with it. And then I just found out this week that a man that is very high level that spoke at the United Nations and other places, and he's got friends in high places. Not like I don't. I'm just that simple guy from Missouri, a coal miner's son. He actually nominated me for a book awards, the Global Book Awards in the UK in London on the 16th of December this year. And if you'd asked me that was going to happen 5 years ago, I'd be like, no, I'm just a guy writing my story.
Yeah.
But because I believe in the universe, I believe in growth, I believe in business, I believe in networking, and I believe in keeping going and doing 5 things a day. And but the other thing that really has helped me get there is also the virtues and values. And what I really love, this is just me, I love the old books from the 1800s that talk about virtues and values. And I'm starting to collect them because the reading from those editors and those writers in those days are so powerful. And my wife just brought me 2 books from Scotland. She was on vacation in London, brought me 2 books back that I mean, the first chapter of one of the books, I'm like, I get goosebumps reading this stuff because virtues and values now are part of my life, integrity and character and all of the things that people just shove aside and think, oh, well, that's not important. Well, I can tell you right now, those building blocks, if you don't use those to build business, it will crumble every time.
It's got to have a strong foundation there. You really do. And there's one thing that popped up in my mind. I want to share this because I've seen a lot of business people. When Don and I started the Speakers Pathway Coalition, we attracted people that had been in business for many years and they never had any real success. And the most common denominator that they had, they'd have a product. They put together something, okay, and they try to give it away. Okay, well that didn't generate any sales, so I need to invent another product, and I'm going to give it away. Okay, all you're doing there is spinning the wheels in the mud. If you cannot sell it, it is not worthy to give away.
Yeah.
Never offer a free gift because if it's free, how good can it be?
Yeah.
Change your verbiage, like you talked, like I said about Bill Heinrich. He would give you a complimentary 30-minute. That has a tendency to make you feel a little more special because you are special. I remember back in the 90s, I flew a lot on airplanes. I was flying every couple of weeks, going here and going there and yonder. And they would always, give us complimentary refreshments. We're talking doodads and a soda pop, but it was complimentary, but it made us feel special. And it prepares your mind so much. I mean, I don't know, probably everybody can relate to this. It's been on an airplane. You get up there and you're in the air and all that, and they start pushing the cart to the front and they're passing out these little doodads, as I call them, and, drinks, and you're getting excited. I'm going like, one day I was sitting there and I was thinking, wait a minute. This is pitiful. I'm getting excited over doodads, and I probably wouldn't even look at that for 2 seconds in a convenience store. But here I am, yippee, we're getting doodads, hot dog. Have you ever been like it?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that or felt that when you? Oh boy, we're getting a snack.
I mean, like you get something, you're like, wow, that is so cool.
Oh yeah, and I tell you, I was flying this is back with Continental Airlines was in business before they sold out and joined United or converged with United. I was on a 737 and I was flying from Houston to Phoenix, and I did this flight a lot. And I always left on Fridays because I was going out there to Arizona when I was in the Guard. And the stewardess, she looked at me and she says, "I know you." And I said, "Yeah." And we visited a little bit. She says, "Yeah, if it's about this time on a Friday night, I'm up here and I'm serving dishes." Because back then they were still serving food.
Right.
And me and her, we got to talking. We had a good time. And just as a little side note of humor here, I told her, I said, "Yeah," because I know how stewardesses talk about their last flight, some of the things they'd like to do to shake up the customers. I said, "I tell you what, it'd be a great one." I said, "Have a friend come on, it's got a black collar, and after you get up in the air, go up to the front, start giving everybody their last rides." Yeah. And she loved it, but it was just so amazing. But my point being is that stop making all these things to give away for free. Everything you have is worthy and it's got value to somebody. Yeah. If you invest in someone with a giving heart, that's cool. But don't just try to give away free gifts to earn money. You're spinning your wheels in the mud. You're going broke. You're going to be frustrated. You're going to be angry. And you're still going to be searching for that magic little thing you can come up with. You have all of the magic inside of you being you, to expand your network by giving and, most importantly, being associated with people who are worthy of you being associated with.
Yes.
Think about that for a moment.
The people, I always say, like you have to decide who's in the circle and who's not in the circle. And just a second, my dog is scratching on my door.
That's quite all right. We're pet lovers here too, I tell you. But
he laid next to me when I'm working in here in my office. So.
Oh yeah.
But like again, the circle and the circle is important, and like who you let into the circle and who you don't. And sometimes you let somebody in. Like when I first got into business, I partner with people, I collaborated with people, and I thought, okay, these are the right people. Well, sometimes they turn out not to be the right people.
That's right.
That's okay. Because you're learning along the way. Even if you failed at something or you feel like they think you failed at something, it's not the end of the world. It's a learning process.
That's
And
right.
like people have started and stopped businesses and had to shut them down or incorporated and then turned it. How many businesses in the United States fail every year?
Oh, yeah.
And I think it really gets back to the principles, right? And that's why I became a success principles coach with Jack Canfield, because he taught me, hey, no blaming, no excuses, 100% accountability, all these things that those principles and those virtues and values, they are the key. And people,
Yes.
it's like, like we've always had the keys. It's just we have to choose to put them in the lock and use them.
That's right.
And people won't do it. They'll, like they try to look for shortcuts. And like you said, giving the things away the free. Now I complimentary gave those books that I gave for the veterans because I know they had value to them.
Right.
Beyond me getting something in return while I was on that trip. But that was part of my
That's
journey
different because
And
you were not giving them
I-
those. You were not giving them those books to try to generate sales with them later.
Correct.
That's
I was
the point.
giving them out of my heart to make sure that it connected with them and they got
that's the
value
right
out
reason.
of it for themselves. And
That's
that
the
is
right
the
reason.
service part of it. But I tell you, like I had come up with some words before we started, and you said like normally we're not scripted, but there's a few things that just kind of I wrote down, and that when the word business comes up, these are the words. Like there's only 10 words, but I'll
Sure,
go
go
very
ahead.
quickly. But one of them is networking.
Mm-hmm.
The second is relationships.
Mm.
The third is failure and the success. The fourth is gut instinct.
Amen.
The fifth is serving others and opening doors. The sixth is action. Because I don't care how big your idea is, if you don't do something about it, it ain't happening. So the next is advantage and a win-win for both people. It's like it's got to be something that's going to be a benefit to more than just yourself.
Oh,
If you're greedy and then you just want for yourself, where's that going to take it?
Yeah.
And then be current with technology, be current with your ideas and, the way that it's shared and how it's done.
Oh,
and then the last thing is just let things develop.
Amen.
Don't push the universe. The universe will bring it to you, but you have to be patient sometimes.
Yeah.
And like I said, sometimes it's going to come from places you had no idea. Somebody's going to say, who is this guy? I need to connect with him and results matter. It's like if you haven't made it or shown somebody else that you've made it, then why are you in a position to tell them how to make it? You're not.
Amen. Amen.
So be results oriented and then set your milestones, set your goals, do some things that maybe you have to change yourself, work on yourself first and work on your business.
Oh,
do that in a rabbit hole for a while before you go spreading out all your wings and saying, I'm this and that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Super important stuff.
I love the way you put that because it's kind of like a farmer. I look at life like a farmer because I'm a farm boy, grew up on a farm. And I tell people we didn't know we were poor till we went to town, but that's okay. But what we were rich in were the things that money could not buy, no thief could steal. But when a farmer works a field, there's a time to plow, there's a time to plant, there's a time to cultivate, there's time for everything. But in between time, there is a time that the farmer must allow the plants to do their things.
That's right.
And in this particular case, you've got to allow yourself time because you're going to be growing in the process too. And that takes a certain amount of time. It's all varies for, whatever the situation is from individual. But, you can't snap your fingers and say abracadabra and pull a rabbit out of a hat.
Right.
And that's sometimes so many people do that. And in the process, they shortchange themselves.
Yeah.
And they get very disappointed and beat up. And I hate to see people get in that category because it's self-inflicted and it's unfair. And I just want to say one more thing before we wind up the show here. We got about a minute left or so. But anybody that's interested in buttering their own bread, let them go.
Yeah.
Let them go.
Really
that's the best way to do it.
The last sentence in my first book was, let go of the ego, my friend.
Oh, yeah. Go on eBay.
In my book, because I realized that even in the service, I mean, you get a high ego when you have a lot of rank, like
Oh
if
yeah.
you've achieved a lot and you're like, okay, I'm gonna walk around, I have my thing.
Oh
But
yeah.
sometimes you have to humble yourself and just say,
Mhm.
you know what, let things develop. Don't be
Yeah.
pushy. Work with the right people, build your business and make it happen.
Oh
And
yeah.
don't sometimes expectation management will be
Mhm.
it could be damaging things. Like don't have
Sure.
expectations. Let things come to you and they
Amen.
will happen. But
Oh
don't,
yeah.
if you push too hard, people can sense that. It's like
Oh
an
yeah.
alarm going off,
Nobody likes pushy people. Mm-mm.
No.
And they really don't, because it makes them uncomfortable, because when you're pushing someone, you're pushing real hard. You're kind of trying to force someone to fit into what you want in life. And that throws
Right.
you totally out of balance. And when I tell people about ego, I told a guy one time, he asked me, because I've done a lot of radio shows and over the years, and 2 million downloads a month on our podcast and stuff. And, he says, what would you recommend me to do to be successful? And I know this guy pretty well. I said, well, you may not like my answer. He said, what's that? I said, go on eBay, put your ego for sale. Do not leave there until you get your money's worth. Because I said, the show is not about you. And it's not about Mark. The show today is not about me and Mark. It's about the content we shared with you. That's why we're here. And Mark, I tell you right now, I just want to thank you and thank your son so much for being a big part of my life, also being a big part of this show. And we look forward to returning the favor by having a special. We're going to do a Saturday Night Live. When you get ready for that kickoff,
Oh yeah.
and
Oh yeah.
you're
That's
in you're in
coming.
a.
So
Oh yeah, and we're looking.
again, just like anything else, it's like the farmer. You got to wait for things to develop with anything
There you
big like
go.
that because it doesn't happen overnight. A
Yeah.
documentary is a big undertaking. If people don't know, it's expensive.
Mm.
And that's one of the sometimes really reasons why sometimes you have to change the status of your business to go
Hmm.
nonprofit versus profit.
Hmm.
So you can get the support that you need from the people to get the word out. There's all kinds of things that have to happen, but
Oh yeah.
I'm very grateful, Jim, that you
Mhm.
have me today. I'm very grateful to be on the show. I'm very grateful to share a few nuggets that I shared.
Oh yeah.
But remember, we could have a whole show on failure and adversity, and it wouldn't be anything about success.
Oh yeah.
I know that because I'm a student of that. But I
Yeah.
will tell you that never give up. Just keep
Hmm.
trying, keep
Yeah.
doing your thing.
Hmm.
Don't worry. Sometimes people are very critical of other people
Hmm.
that are trying to do this better for themselves
Yeah.
or others. So it's okay.
That's right.
And
If
you got to
someone's
build
trying to
healthy limits for that.
Yeah, if someone's trying to put you down, just remember they're just trying to feel better about themselves. And ladies and gentlemen, our time is gone. On behalf of Mark and myself, we're so glad that you tuned in today. Whether you're watching us on your cell phone, big screen TV, wherever you're watching us from, thank you so very, very much, because the reason we're here is to be able to be a blessing to you. On behalf of Mark and myself, remember to love yourself first. And then you love others. Make sure you love yourself enough to give yourself grace. And most importantly, just be willing to admit that you make mistakes, own them, and go forward. We'll see you